This is iTV. Edmonton's news is next.
It's Wednesday, May the 25th. Tonight's top story, prime targets for robbery. Edmonton police put out a warning to local greenhouses. Then, out with the Nemeo Air Show, in with another. Plus, a fire in Sydney, Nova Scotia forces hundreds to evacuate. And he's a leading candidate in a California election, but he's dead.
Now, iTV News at 10.
Good evening. An urgent warning tonight from Edmonton police to greenhouse businesses. This is the busiest time of the year for those garden centers, and it looks like two armed bandits have decided to try to cash in.
Two city greenhouses have already been hit, and police are worried there might be more to come. Giselle Bernardo has been following the story tonight. She joins us live from police headquarters. Giselle, sounds like a couple of frightening robberies.
No, you're not kidding, Gord, Jacqueline. It started last Friday. Two men walked into Zachuck's greenhouse in northeast Edmonton. At first, the two men were browsing around the greenhouse. Then the two of them approached the cashier. One of them produced a gun, pointed it at the cashier, and demanded money. Now, she handed the money over. They took off. And then today, police believe the same two men tried to hold up another north side greenhouse. But this time, the owners weren't about to give in. They tried to protect their hard-earned money.
You know, they just were not flower people. They just were not out to buy flowers. It was so obvious.
Joan Simon was called to the till minutes after two suspicious-looking men walked into her greenhouse this afternoon. The men walked around the shop for a while and then just stood by the cash register, waiting for customers to leave. That's when Joan's husband asked the pair to leave. At that point, one of the suspects pulled out a gun.
He pointed it at my husband, and they kind of scuffled outside the door, and they fought, and he was kicking my husband again and again and again. And they both were, and my husband grabbed his wrist and took the gun away. And at this point, I took the gun from my husband, and I pointed it at them.
During the scuffle, Joan's mother picked up a sack of potatoes and hit one of the men over the head.
She took a 10-pound bag of potatoes, yeah, and, you know, the funny thing is I was there, but I didn't even see her do this, and afterwards I didn't know why there was potatoes laying all over the place. It's kind of a comical twist.
The suspects got away without any money, and although no one was hurt, Joan now wishes her husband hadn't confronted the robbers, and that goes double for police.
It was extremely dangerous of that individual to first accost that suspect who's armed, then to scuffle with him, not knowing whether that gun was real or not, or loaded or not, and of course for his relative to become involved and trying to do what they believe was the right thing, but really in hindsight is very dangerous.
Now, Gord, Jacqueline, the two suspects are still on the loose tonight, and police want all greenhouse owners to be on the lookout and take precautions.
Well, Giselle, as you mentioned earlier, there are a lot of cash flowing through these businesses at this time of year. Are police giving out any advice here what these stores can do to protect themselves?
Well, Gord, some of these greenhouses are only working, or they're only in operation a few months of the year, so it's really difficult for them to set up cameras and surveillance systems and that kind of thing. But one of the things they can do is get rid of the big bills by making regular deposits.
Okay, thanks, Giselle.
You're welcome.
Giselle Bernardo reporting live from police headquarters. Police haven't got any photos or sketches of the greenhouse bandits yet, but they do have some descriptions they're hoping will jog your memory. The suspects were last seen driving a white half-ton pickup truck with the word sport on the driver's side door.
Now, the first suspect is described as a 19 to 22-year-old Asian male, between 5'6" and 5'8", about 150 pounds, with shoulder-length black hair. The second suspect is believed to be a slim white male, 19 to 22 years old, between 5'8" and 5'10", with short blonde hair and blue eyes. If you have any information about these two men, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers. The number is 422-8477. Well, Edmonton police have kicked off a campaign to raise awareness about child safety seats.
Over the next couple of weeks, officers will be stopping parents and inspecting the seats for proper use. Health officials say most people don't know how to install child seats correctly, and as Paul Bezetta reports, it leads to a false sense of security.
Every time you get in your car, you put yourself at risk. You like to think you're prepared for it, But what about your child in the back seat?
I can't think of one circumstance where I've actually stopped a car that has a car seat that's properly installed.
Police say child seats are crucial for safety. So we went to Millwood's Town Center Mall to see how many parents use their seats properly. As we found out, few did.
The 5-point strap's not adjusted properly, way too loose.
During a half-hour period today, 4 parents did not have their children safely secured.
Because car crashes are certainly a major problem for all of us, that if a child were in an accident, then they wouldn't be protected if the car seat were not installed correctly.
Here are a couple of points to remember.
If you press the abdominal shield against the child a little bit and kind of fiddle with the straps, it will go in, and it should be snug, so you can fit like a finger between the strap and the child's shoulders. The tether strap should actually be bolted to the floor in the van. This is an emergency thing. They shouldn't be using it very often.
The reason why I stopped you here is we're promoting Safe Kids Buckle Up Week.
Police will be conducting similar check stops all over the city beginning today. And if you're not sure whether or not your child's safety seat is secured properly or whether or not it's faulty, the Edmonton Board of Health will be conducting free clinics on safety seats beginning on June the 2nd. Paul Bizzetta, ITV News at 10.
If you'd like more information on where and when those free car seat clinics will be held, call your nearest Edmonton Board of Health office.
You're watching iTV News at 10 with Gordon Steinke and Jacqueline Clark.
Well, a power failure created some problems downtown this afternoon.
An area to both sides of Jasper Avenue west of 109th Street was in the dark for about 45 minutes after a transformer failed. The LRT was shut down for a while and some traffic lights were out. The power is back on now, and Edmonton power officials are still trying to figure out what went wrong.
About 500 workers at Finning heavy machinery dealerships across the province have voted in favor of strike action. 2/3 of the workers are here in Edmonton. 90% voted to strike. Talks have resumed, but workers could walk out as early as midnight on Friday. Turns out the air show did not fly into the wild blue yonder for good last weekend.
Budget cuts have forced the Nemeo Air Show to die, but a new one is springing to life in its place. Wendy Taberge reports.
It was billed as the last air show to be staged in Edmonton. Now it seems a new host has flown into the ring and offered to pick up where Nemeo left off. The Edmonton International Airport's putting together a show of its own. The airport's authority promises this one will be even bigger.
The vision is that we're going to have about 250,000 people right here on the May long weekend of 1996.
The authority says this is a great way to expand the airport's horizons. There's enough room out here to fit 500,000 visitors, all the military toys we've come to love, and then some.
I predict that we'll have an Aeroflot airplane here come the day, and hopefully something that maybe as appealing as the Russian Knights, which is a MiG aerobatic team from Russia.
If the show goes off as planned, this entire taxiway, all the way from more than 2 kilometers down there to approximately where I'm standing right here, will be loaded with airplanes and people. And while we're all taking in the show, regular commercial aircraft will be taking off and landing several hundred meters away. Organizers promise the new Edmonton International Air Show will not nosedive, and the city agrees.
It's not just an economic driver, it's also can have a very positive effect on tourism.
Air shows are a #1 drawing card for tourists in these parts. Many agree we'd be crazy to let it die.
It's good for the city, good advertisement. And there's a lot of aircraft, and it generates a lot of money.
Wendy Taberge, ITV News at 10.
And still with airports, the Airports Authority is trying to boost passenger traffic to both the municipal and international airports to nearly 3 million by the year 2000. If that happens, they'll build a brand new terminal at the International.
The city is asking you to follow the Yellow Fish Road this spring on a path to cleaner water. Even the Minister of the Environment joined the Girl Guides to paint yellow fish on the sidewalk. It's to remind people that they can't pour their hazardous waste down the sewer without contaminating our drinking water. You can take any hazardous materials to the toxic roundup at Clark Stadium this weekend.
Well, Bill, just when we start getting some really nice warm temperatures, those darkling shadows have to come and ruin everything.
Yeah, it's amazing, you know, the way the warm air has been pumping into this province. the matter of fact, it was warmer in the northern part than it was in the southern part.
Which is very strange.
Which is very, very strange, yes. And anyway, we are being invaded by some colder air, which will show up tomorrow. But it won't be that bad because the normal daytime high for this time of year is 19, and we're still looking at 20 to 25 across the province.
Well ahead of the game.
Oh, yeah, we're well ahead of the game, you betcha. Thank you, and good evening. The thing about the weather map tonight is that I know I've been sounding like doom and gloom, you know, darkling shadows, deadly forces. No, it's not going to be that bad at all. All we're looking forward to is a slight cool-off in things to get us back to what you might call near normal temperatures, which for this time of year in this area is about 19. I'll have all the details a little later on.
All right, thank you, Bill. And coming up on ITV News at 10, could casino gambling be coming to a reserve near Edmonton? The province says no.
And later, the Phantom of the Opera decides to extend his stay in Edmonton.
You're watching ITV News at 10. Coming up, Perry Solkowski on sports. Pat Kiernan has your money. And Bill